If you don't know what to write in an email or your sales page or your website, it's usually not a writing problem. There's usually something else that is holding you back from actually writing that email. And that's exactly what this episode is about. So let's dive in. So a lot of the times when people say that they don't know what to say, it's usually not true. And not because they're lying, but because most of the time you know what you're trying to get across, right? You know the outcomes of what you're writing. Like if you're writing an email, you're trying to connect with your people. If you're writing a sales page, you're trying to sell your offer, right? So you know kind of like ish what you want to say, but what actually is holding people back is a few things. One is fear, right? Fear of judgment, fear of how it's going to land, whether or not it's going to work. Maybe there's some imposter syndrome there where you're afraid that you're going to promise something and you're not going to be able to deliver on it. And for me, I fall into this freeze pattern sometimes. Most recently, I fell into it because I was sending over a proposal email and it was for a big project and I was feeling nervous about it. So I drafted an email, plugged it into ChatGPT, tweaked it again, sent it to my sister, and then tweaked it again before hitting send on it. And so it took me a long time to actually send this email because I had to read it over 10 times to make it better instead of just sending it, right? And that's not because I didn't know what to say. I did know what to say, right? But it was me trying to protect myself from failure, right? Like I wanted to make it so perfect that these people are definitely going to want to work with me because it felt high stakes for me. I really wanted the project and it was something that I was excited about. So it felt scary. Side note on this, before I talk more about what I see when it comes to people being stuck on writing, it's a great reason to have templated emails for your client communications so that you don't spend a lot of time rewriting the same things over and over and over again. But what I do see with my clients when I review copy is that it's not that they are bad writers. They are mostly actually really good writers and they enjoy writing, and that's why they're in the membership because they want to learn how to write really great copy. But there's a few things that hold people up. One is being unclear because they're not sure who their ideal client is and what their offer is. So these are like the foundational messaging pieces where it's really important to know who you're talking to. Because while you want to sound professional, you don't want to sound stuffy, but you also don't want to go so far in the other direction that you feel unprofessional, right? So where is that balance? And so really thinking about who are you talking to and actually imagining how would I actually have this conversation with people in a one-to-one setting and then write the way that you would speak to them in that way. I think the other thing that really gets people stuck is they're trying to soften everything. They don't want to be super direct when it comes to their offer. And so they kind of walk around what the transformation is and why people should be inside the offer. And sometimes it feels really scary to be like, hey, this is exactly what the offer is. This is what it does for you. This is the transformation. This is who it's for. And this is why you should join. And not you should join because, you're going to get $20 off if you join before this date, but you should join because these are the outcomes and these are how they're going to help you meet your goals, and being very direct about that transformation that you're going to give people. If you're a recovering people pleaser, sometimes being direct feels mean, but actually being direct is actually the kindest thing you can do because you're not wasting people's time and you're being very clear about how you can help them. And that's just going to let them know whether or not they're the right fit for your offer even quicker. As I was saying, for my example with the email, when things feel high stakes, it feels scarier, right? So you spend more time editing, you spend more time tweaking and ruminating on whether or not it's good. And so there's this fear that you'll damage your brand, you'll damage your business. But the thing is, right, brands aren't built on being perfect. They're built on being aligned and coherent. So it's not about like that one perfect email is going to make or break whether someone works for you. It's going to be about your body of work and how that body of work shows your professionalism over time. And so when you're thinking about an email, like, does it fit your values? Does it fit the story that you've been telling, right? Does it fit your messaging framework? And that's going to matter more than having the perfect writing or the perfect email, because people don't usually remember like one email. They remember like a schema of you, right? Like they're going to remember, hey, this is what this person is good at because I read their emails every week or every month. And I interact with them. And every time I interact with them, I'm getting the same story. And so that's what's actually going to build trust. And so I would say, like, if you're struggling with sending an email, really like take the pressure off, because it's okay. It's just one email and you have a whole business and a whole brand that can continue doing that for you. As you write more emails, you have a bigger body of work where people are feeling more and more confident. And so take the pressure off. Like, one email is not going to make or break your success. I think, like, tying back to the last episode where we were thinking about how to move forward before you're ready, that's the same kind of thing. Like, if you're feeling stuck on writing, you can be thoughtful about your writing and reflect on it and get feedback and improving it, but taking action is going to be still hitting send. Even if you don't feel like it's perfect, even if you're unsure about it. It's funny because a lot of the times when I'm feeling unsure about something, like a podcast episode or an email, those usually end up performing better. And then I can look back and be like, oh, maybe I was feeling unsure about it because I was stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. But because I'm continuously taking action, right, I'm continuously moving forward. If you are feeling stuck when you are writing, instead of asking yourself, are these the right words? Does this sound right? Ask, what's the outcome, right? What is the goal from this? Is it that you want to invite people to an event? Is it that you want to clarify what the transformation is of your offer? Do you want to sell your offer directly? Do you want to nurture your people and build trust, right? When you think about what's the outcome, the words part isn't as important. And so you don't have to like analyze everything on a sentence level. I mean, and it can be hard, right? Like when you are feeling dysregulated and maybe you're like scrolling and you're feeling like, oh, I should be emailing, like I should be doing this because other people are doing this. You get into your brain, right? And so then it makes it even harder to take action. And I think one thing that really does help with this is having a brand messaging guide, because if you know your brand really well and you know your voice and you know your message, you can fall back on that. So even when your emotions are taking over and you are leaning into these perfectionistic tendencies, but you know your brand, you can fall back on those guidelines, right? Like you can fall back on, hey, I know that this works. These are my values. This is what I stand for. These are the outcomes that I help people with. And so every piece of content that I publish have to fall back into these guidelines. And so if you are feeling stuck on an email, you can just go back and say, hey, does this fit the guidelines? If yes, it's fine to send. If no, hey, maybe I need to do some tweaking, right? And so this is really where that body of work comes into play, because people are not judging you on that email. They're judging you on that body of work. And that's where a brand messaging guide can really talk about the quality and the consistency that should be present among that body of work. That is why I always start with brand messaging whenever I start with a new done for you client. So with all of this being said, remember that one email is not going to make or break your business. People are not judging you super hard. You're usually judging yourself more than they are, but they are looking to you, to your brand as a whole, right? So one email is not going to have a huge impact, but many emails over time will. And that's what's going to build trust with your people, right? And so when I'm working with clients, that's what I help them do, is understand not only how they help people, but how to communicate that clearly enough so that they are the obvious choice, so their ideal clients know exactly why they should pick them. So if there is something that you've been avoiding, an email, a website, this is your permission to send the imperfect version. And of course, if you need a second pair of eyes, that's what we do inside Copy Classroom. So just remember, you don't need the perfect thing to say. You just need to say something. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred listening platform. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe for weekly episodes about how to make money and work with the dreamiest of clients without having to get dressed in the morning. Make sure to check out the show notes down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.